In the realm of entertainment, certain names rise beyond notoriety and become emblematic of cultural shifts, sexual discourse, and entrepreneurial innovation. Among those figures, Jenna Jameson stands as a towering presence. Often dubbed the Queen of Erotic, Jameson's journey from strip clubs and magazines spreads to industry mogul and mainstream personality has been as provocative as it is influential. Her life is more than a collection of film titles. It is a narrative shaped by reinvention, power, gender politics, and an unwavering determination to control her destiny. Jenna Jameson's rise occurred during a transitional period for entertainment. The 1990s and early 2000s witnessed the industry's explosive growth, driven by the rise of the internet, the democratization of video production, and a growing appetite for explicit material that reflected evolving attitudes toward. During this time, female performers often grappled with objectification, limited agency, and societal stigma. It was within this complex landscape that Jameson not only thrived but redefined what it meant to be a woman in control within a male-dominated space. Her emergence signaled a new era where performers could command mainstream attention, build business empires, and challenge outdated notions of shame and submission. This video argues that Jenna Jameson, through her work as a performer, entrepreneur, author, and media personality, transcended the industry to become a significant cultural figure, one who disrupted conventional gender roles, pioneered performer-led entertainment ventures, and played a central role in bridging content with mainstream media and popular culture. Jenna Jameson's rise to fame in the industry was not just the result of physical appeal or willingness to perform on camera. It was rooted in her ability to craft a persona that played with and challenged traditional archetypes of female sexuality. Entering the industry in 1993, Jameson brought with her a polished aesthetic shaped by early experiences in stripping and modeling, but it was her commanding presence and awareness of performance that distinguished her. Her early work quickly garnered critical acclaim, with major film organizations such as AVN, XRCO, and Fox recognizing her with Best New Starlet awards by 1996. More than just accolades, these awards were acknowledgments of her immediate impact on the industry's visual and language. Unlike many of her contemporaries who were often depicted as passive objects of desire, Jameson frequently portrayed characters who were sexually assertive, articulate, and emotionally expressive. Her films often featured scenes where she was not only the object of desire but also the orchestrator of it, turning what might have been passive roles into powerful displays of agency. This distinction helped position her as a rare talent capable of pushing against the industry's typical depictions of women. In a time when films were still largely produced by and for men, Jameson stood out for her ability to take control of her narrative, often choosing her projects, directors, and co-stars. This performative authority allowed her to project an image that many fans interpreted not as subservience, but as mastery, an erotic icon who was in command of her own image. Moreover, Jameson's performances tapped into a cultural moment when the boundaries between pop culture were becoming increasingly porous. In this environment, her public persona, sexy, savvy, and self-aware, spoke to broader themes about female empowerment and self-expression. Her on-screen presence contributed to the evolving conversation about sex work as a legitimate form of labor and artistry. In reclaiming power through performance, Jameson laid the groundwork for a new kind of star, one who was not merely seen but heard, and who demanded to be respected as an artist and entrepreneur. By the early 2000s, Jameson had already established herself as the most recognizable face in film. But her transition from starlet to mogul marked one of the most significant evolutions in the history of the entertainment industry. In 2000, alongside then-partner Jay Gardena, Jameson founded ClubJenna, a multimedia empire that began as a personal website and grew to become one of the most profitable brands in the industry. Unlike many performer-led ventures that served only as fan sites, ClubJenna was a full-fledged business with original content production, strategic partnerships, and diversified revenue streams. The success of Brianna Loves Jenna 2002, which became the best-selling and best-renting film of the year, showcased Jameson's intuitive grasp of market demand. The film was not only a financial triumph but also a cultural statement. It demonstrated that entertainment could be both high-quality and performer-driven, and that female stars could take ownership of content creation. At its peak, ClubJenna was reportedly generating over $30 million annually, with profits exceeding $15 million. These numbers were unheard of for a performer-owned venture and positioned Jameson as one of the wealthiest and most powerful figures in entertainment. ClubJenna's model emphasized high production values, personalized marketing, and a carefully curated brand identity. Jameson ensured that her company reflected her evolving image, not just as a sex symbol, but as a shrewd businesswoman. She also opened the doors for other performers to do the same, mentoring and managing the websites of other stars. In doing so, Jameson quietly challenged the traditional studio model that had long dictated the terms of performer labor. She became a pioneer of direct-to-consumer content in an era that predated platforms like OnlyFans, foreshadowing the creator-led revolution that would later define online content. Jameson's entrepreneurial efforts redefined the roles available to performers. She turned her fame into capital, her image into intellectual property, and her brand into a multimedia powerhouse. Her business acumen not only elevated her personal profile but also contributed to a broader shift in how content was produced, distributed, and consumed. One of the most compelling aspects of Jenna Jameson's legacy is her successful crossover into mainstream entertainment and public consciousness. While previous stars had dabbled in mainstream roles, few had managed to translate their fame into sustained cultural relevance. Jameson, however, appeared in films like Private Parts 1997, hosted reality shows such as Jenna's American Sex Star on Playboy TV, and made numerous appearances on talk shows and magazine covers. These ventures allowed her to shape her public narrative, moving beyond the narrow confines of stardom and into the wider world of entertainment and media. Her 2004 autobiography, How to Make Love Like a Star, a cautionary tale, became a New York Times bestseller and further cemented her status as a mainstream figure. Co-written with Neil Strauss, the book was not merely a salacious memoir. It was a deeply personal, often harrowing exploration of trauma, addiction, love, ambition, and self-discovery. In opening up about the abuse she suffered in her youth, her struggles with drugs, and the emotional toll of fame, Jameson humanized the star archetype in a way that few had done before. Her story resonated with readers because it was not just about sex, but about survival and transformation. Jameson's ability to move between in mainstream entertainment challenged cultural taboos and blurred the line between the acceptable and the obscene. She became a touchstone in debates about place in society, often appearing on cable news programs and talk shows to defend her career choices. Her articulate and self-aware commentary forced audiences to reckon with the reality that performers were not just products of the industry, but participants with agency, intelligence, and vision. In this way, Jameson helped shift public perception and opened the door for more nuanced discussions about sex work, feminism, and celebrity. As much as Jenna Jameson's career has been celebrated, it has also been marked by contradictions and controversies that complicate her legacy. Her retirement from film in 2008, announced at the AVN Awards, was framed as a definitive break from her past. She declared she would never return, citing motherhood as a transformative experience. In many interviews, Jameson emphasized a desire to protect her children from the scrutiny and judgment that followed her public persona. This decision was widely seen as an attempt to reconcile her past career with the demands of a more socially acceptable personal life. However, the clarity of that departure would blur in the following years. In 2013, Jameson returned to entertainment, not in traditional film, but through webcam modeling, a growing platform that allowed her more control and direct interaction with fans. This return reignited debates about her relationship with the industry and her own statements on self-respect and motherhood. Critics accused her of hypocrisy, while others defended her right to redefine her boundaries on her own terms. Her sporadic appearances in media since then, including polarizing political commentary and personal controversies, have added layers of complexity to her public image. Jameson's later years have also seen significant shifts in ideology. Once a symbol of sexual liberation, she has publicly aligned with more conservative and religious viewpoints, including a conversion to Judaism and outspoken support for controversial political figures. These changes have alienated some former fans, who see them as a retreat from her earlier advocacy of sex positivity and autonomy. Yet, others interpret these shifts as part of an ongoing journey, a search for identity and meaning beyond fame. These contradictions do not negate her earlier contributions, but they do challenge simple narratives of empowerment. Jameson's evolution forces a broader consideration of how society allows, or denies, women the right to change, to contradict themselves, and to move between roles as performer, parent, entrepreneur, and activist. Her story underscores the difficulty of escaping the shadows of past identities in a culture that rarely forgives, and almost never forgets. Jenna Jameson's life and career span a remarkable arc, from the gritty stages of strip clubs to the polished offices of a multi-million-dollar enterprise, from the explicit frames of cinema to the pages of best-selling books and appearances on cable news. She reclaimed agency through performance, challenged industry norms through entrepreneurship, and helped dismantle the cultural divide between and mainstream entertainment. Her impact has been both revolutionary and deeply personal, touching on questions of gender, power, and public perception. Through her strategic career choices, unapologetic embrace of sexuality, and success as a businesswoman, Jenna Jameson transcended the traditional role of the film star. She became not just a face of an industry but a cultural symbol, one that defies easy categorization. Her legacy is not one of moral clarity but of radical visibility. She demanded that society acknowledge her on her own terms, and in doing so, shifted the landscape of sex work and celebrity. In a world increasingly driven by personal branding, Jenna Jameson was ahead of her time. She understood the power of image, the currency of attention, and the value of controlling one's narrative. Her journey, full of contradictions, courage, and reinvention, reminds us that liberation is not always neat, and empowerment does not always come in expected forms. Whether revered or reviled, Jenna Jameson remains a defining figure in modern sexuality and a complex icon of agency in the face of stigma. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.